What's going on in the world of rock and metal in the last couple of years, with the legendary acts selling out arenas once again, and the new bands, including Ghost and Sleep Token, whether you like them or not, taking #1 spots in Billboard 200, in my opinion, is nothing short of full revival of metal's former glory. And I always believe that one of the biggest indicators of society's interest in a subject is its representation in the movies. So to prove, or to bust my own claim, let's take a look at some of the most anticipated rock and metal movies which are coming out this year, and which apparently there are more of in 2025 than at any previous year in rock history. Here you go.
Will you shut up? You shut up, man.
To mark half a century of raising hell around the globe, Iron Maiden are not only touring the world with their mind-blowing Run for Your Lives tour or drop a new Infinite Dreams book this year, but are also finally getting a proper big screen treatment. Backed by Universal Pictures, this official 50th anniversary documentary is set to hit international cinemas in fall 2025 and promises to be far more than just yet another rock documentary. Although, in all fairness, pretty much every rock documentary sucks exactly that. But anyways, directed by Malcolm Vanville, Church at War, and produced by Dominic Freeman, Spirits in the Forest, the film will feature never-before-seen archival footage from the 1970s era of Iron Maiden and new interviews with all past and current band members, including what may be the most emotional one of them all, the final interview ever recorded together with the legendary vocalist Paul Di'Anno, before he sadly passed away last year. In addition to that, the film will feature a bunch of interviews with die-hard Iron Maiden fans, including special appearances by Lars Ulrich, Gene Simmons, or even Javier Bardem, and explore the band's massive cultural influence around the globe. But most importantly, well, in addition to the never-before-seen archival footage from the 1970s, for which I am very excited to be honest with you, but is that Eddie will be brought to life through newly created animated sequences, making this as much of a visual celebration of an Iron Maiden mythos as it is a documentary. And I don't know about you, but I'm all in for that. Although sadly we still don't know when and where exactly around the globe it will hit the cinemas this autumn. But the craziest thing is that it won't be the only Iron Maiden related documentary you will most likely see this year, as in addition to that, director Wes Orchowski, the same guy who worked on Lemmy and The Damned, Don't You Wish That We Were Dead, is set to release a special documentary specifically on Paul Di'Anno, with a working title Paul Di'Anno: The Beast, covering Di'Anno's early years in East London, his meteoric rise with Iron Maiden, and the self-destructive spiral that sadly followed afterwards. In addition to all that, the documentary also focuses quite heavily on Di'Anno's recovery and comeback, particularly his latest surgeries and first performance back on stage in Croatia, a show made possible by a global fan campaign, featuring interviews with close friends, musicians, and Paul Di'Anno himself, offering an unflinching look at one of metal's most controversial frontmen ever. Following the trend, German rock legend Scorpions, who by the way are set to celebrate their 60th anniversary this year, 60th, and still rockin', can't believe that. But nevertheless, Scorpions are set to release Wind of Change, the upcoming biopic, produced by ES6 Entertainment, the studio known for indie hits like Bennett's War and American Fighter, and directed by French-American filmmaker Alex Rana-Rivello. And unlike a traditional documentary, this one will be a fully dramatized biographical film, a narrative feature that follows the story of three unlikely friends whose love for rock music propelled them from post-World War II Germany into global superstardom as the band we know today as Scorpions. And in all seriousness, Scorpions' band has one of the most distinct and one of the most interesting histories in the history of rock and metal bands, and especially when it comes to the earliest days of this band. And given the fact that frontman Klaus Meine confirmed that the band is actively involved in both casting and script development, I think there is a high chance that the Scorpions biopic might actually be an international hit and will reach the audiences far beyond our regular rock and metal community. And I really hope that this film, which was originally supposed to be released around the celebrations of Scorpion's 60th anniversary, will hit the cinemas by the end of this year. And talking Talking about German music, let's not forget about The Art of Destruction, a newly released documentary that tells the full story of German thrash metal pioneers Destruction, one of the true unsung heroes of European metal scene. After 5 years in production, the film finally premiered in March 2025 in German cinemas and is now gearing up for international screenings. The documentary offers a brutally honest and sometimes not so pretty look at the 40+ year long career of the guys who co-founded the Teutonic thrash metal scene, with Schmier calling it a story of friendship, passion, betrayal, failure, and success. But in reality, it mostly being about the cost of sticking to your guns in the world of music. With Temptation's The Invisible Force, which was released on YouTube for free just a couple of weeks ago and since then has already been viewed over 1 million times on YouTube alone, is another one which goes far beyond the regular rock and metal crowd, as this documentary captures Sharon Donadell's personal journey to Ukraine and is actually not really about Within Temptation at all. It's about music and the way it can be a healer even during the darkest of times. And according to my latest interview with Sharon, this is exactly the point Within Temptation wanted to portray with this film. But in all honesty, as thankful as I am to Sharon and Within Temptation for bringing attention to this matter, I don't think that anyone thought that it would hit that hard and would resonate with so many people outside of our regular rock crowd, showcasing how metal's honesty is suddenly once again being valued, and even by the mainstream communities in today's plastic world. And of course, Metallica, being the biggest metal band on the planet, simply could not stand aside from the trend, as Metallica Saved My Life, directed by Jonas Åkerlund, yeah, the same guy who directed Lords of Chaos and Spawn, is set to premiere at Tribeca Film Festival on the 11th of June. But unlike all the previous Metallica documentaries, which there were a lot of, this time around they will not focus on the band's history, but rather tell the story of their fans, specifically how the music of Metallica helped people overcome trauma, addiction, grief, and depression, and include testimonials from dozens of fans around the world, interspersed with intimate interviews and commentary from the band. And here's the thing, I just have to point out that it was a huge honor and pleasure to help Metallica out with this documentary and for them to ask my personal story, and I simply cannot wait for it to be released and finally see it for myself. And then there's one which I personally am extremely excited about, as for the very first time in their career, Judas Priest are telling their full story in a proper large-scale documentary titled The Ballad of Judas Priest. Of course, paying tribute to the very song which has given Judas Priest its title. But anyways, this documentary will be produced by Sony Music Vision and Banger Films, and by the way, don't believe everything that is written online, as it is already finished, 100%. And yes, I did confirm it with the band themselves. And according to the metal film veterans Sam Dunn and Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello, who are co-directing it, for the very first time ever, Judas Priest have given the directors full access to the band's archives, inner circle, and personal testimonies, which will hopefully finally help us Judas Priest fans get all of their records straight about some lesser known parts of the Judas Priest history. And of course, just like an Iron Maiden one, this one promises to be much more than just a regular rock documentary. I told you! But nevertheless, The Ballad of Judas Priest is said to be not only retrospective, but also positioned as a full-scale examination of the cultural and personal history of one of the most influential bands in the history of music, and metal's longest lasting act, at least as of today. And given the fact that I simply loved both of Rob Halford's and KK Downing's books, I am extremely excited to get another honest look at the history of one of the greatest heavy metal bands to ever walk this earth. Like wildfire, and then there's one which is the master of them all, the one that started them all, and the one in which presence all the other rock and metal documentaries simply fade. The one we've been waiting for more than 40 years. The return of the legendary This is Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap The End Continues is set to hit theaters this September 12th, and we'll see the reunion of all the 3 legendary Spinal Tap members and the return of the documentarian Marty DiBergi, who is set to tell the last final story of the legendary act, alongside some, small cameos by, Paul McCartney, Elton John, and a bunch of other dudes nobody really knows about. And according to the director Rob Reiner, this one is not going to be a nostalgia grab, but rather a reflection on how the music industry has changed and evolved since the first film, which once again was released more than 40 years ago, yet which of course still is as hilarious today as it was back then. And thus, I don't know about you, but at least to me, there is simply no other movie which is coming out in 2025 which I am more excited about than about This is Spinal Tap 2.
I like to sink her with my pink torpedo.
But anyways, these are just some that I personally am most excited about. But let's not forget that last year ended with a very successful Heavy Trip sequel, and this one started with becoming Led Zeppelin, which was a big deal pretty much all across the world. And just in the last couple of months ago, dozens of rock and metal documentaries and movies of all sorts have been announced. So yes, I think it is pretty fair to say that there is quite a lot of interest in rock and metal from pop culture. But what about you? What do you guys personally think about it? And which of these documentaries are you most excited about? Please let us know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching this short video, guys, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!